Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Thanks for the lovely introduction. My task this morning is to talk a little bit about construction management and why that is important when we are executing projects. So after looking at all the shiny, nice, lovely devices you have seen in previous presentations, I now take you to the dark side, okay, into the mud, where it's really getting nasty. So our customers face a lot of pain points, and a very important one is excessive risk. So what you see here on the picture is snow, okay? This is what we would call in Germany, we would call that bad weather. In a project we are just involved in the north of Canada, this is practically nothing. So in that region, we will find for about 10 months of the year 3-meter high snow. So the simple fact that somebody tells you that a pipe spool has been delivered 6 weeks back is for sure absolutely perfect. But then in the end, where actually is it? Where do you have to dig? Because actually you have to dig a hole now in 3 meters deep snow. So now I link that to the technology stuff we heard before, to have an RFID tag on that pipe spool and a detector where I can sense that is absolutely helpful. So this is a right move into the technology. So excessive risk is a major pain point in this environment. Another issue here is poor efficiency. So the Construction Industry Institute in the US has made a survey, or has actually made several surveys over many years, and they came up with these figures. And what you see here actually is that a construction worker in an average project is spending 27% of his time with value-adding work. That's a little bit more than a quarter. Okay, to be fair, he is also doing a lot of preparation, okay? So, but that all together is practically a third of his time. A third of his time he is doing value-adding work. The rest is waste. So when we look at these figures here, we are talking about excessive travel, because you go somewhere, you see that the material you have to install is not available, so you move somewhere else. That takes time. We are waiting for information, for documents, for drawings, and for equipment, and for literally everything. So the worker is just sitting down and is waiting. And this waste, this adds up. So again, at the end of the day, we see something like that. That's rather poor. And it's of course not only waste, which is bad itself, but costs a lot of money. We are wasting enormous money here. So for our solution, and this is what we are talking about, construction management is a solution from AVEVA. The target number one is efficiency. So the goal obviously is, if you look at the craftsman's workday, what we want to do is to increase the tool time, get the idle time and the traveling down. Okay, so just to give you an example, in a normal, in quotes, construction project, we are looking at craftsman's work, which is accounting for about 40% of the cost. So 40% of the overall project cost is labor. So if we can improve something there, we save a lot of money. And that's of course what everybody is looking for. So our target customers are owner-operators and EPCs. And they all share the same idea that we have to improve in this area. So again, the Construction Industry Institute in the US has proposed a, let's say, a roadmap how to address this challenge. And what they are coming up with is something they call work packaging and work phase planning. This term work phase planning seems to be rather Canadian, to be honest. So it's now actually over the last years it has crawled down into the US, and now from there it's spreading. So we always call that detailed planning because the devil is in the detail. So work packaging, work phase planning, and what we are talking about here is how to eat an elephant, practically. Because what we need to do, we have a huge, big project, and now we cut that up into manageable pieces. And a manageable piece, that is a work package. And to use this quote here, it's all about preparation. So prepare the work. And we had a customer once who said, oh, it's all not that difficult. This is very philosophical, and the world is way easier. It's just plan the work and work the plan. And then you're set. Okay, and then we are talking about this excessive risks from the first slide, and it all falls apart. But still, this is the right road in our understanding. So what is a construction work package? The construction work package is, as the term is suggesting, it's a box and there's something in it. So the content of a work package, from our understanding, this is a description of the work scope and the budget. We are talking about materials, we're talking about documents, we're talking about drawings. We need a schedule. And we need responsible. We need crews, we need trades, we need contractors to execute the work, because that's what we're talking about, right? I mean, the work package, that is a piece of work that has to be done. And still, this is rather high level. So for all of you who are familiar with project management terms, we are talking about work breakdown structures, and on the lowest level of the work breakdown structure, we find our construction work package. But from our understanding, that's not detailed enough. So we would like to go one level further down, and we call this level installation work package, which is sort of a recursive definition, because if this big brown box contains the construction work package, then the yellow boxes are the installation work packages inside. They, for instance, have something like an IWP report, and again, everything we see here. So an installation work package also has a work scope and a budget, it has material assigned, but just on a lower level. It's more fine-grained. So, and in the rest of the presentation, I will tell you now how to put a work package together. Or a colleague of mine recently called it, this is the cake, and now we have to learn how to bake it. And the first step is here the scoping. So it's a little bit like, you know, you have to prepare dinner, and you go to the supermarket, and you drive through the corridors with your shopping cart, and you pull the stuff off the shelf you need for making dinner. Okay, the majority of you is not knowing what I'm talking about now, but there are a few ladies in it, they have a clue, and you can ask them later what that means. But so actually we pull things together we want to install in our work package. And we do this with the help of a 3D model. So we are providing an environment where somebody can go into the 3D model and pick the items he needs for his work package and put this list of items together. And it's very visual, so you practically can see what you have to do. That's quite helpful, obviously, but it's not enough. What we have also come up with recently is a complete automation. So what we are doing is we are automating the link between a work package structure and a 3D model. So we can assign the items from the 3D model automatically to a work package with a rather simple mapping mechanism. So there is a fully automated mapping in place, and you can do also things manually, probably to correct the automatic mapping. which is not necessarily always 100%. So once we have our scope, we need a budget. And the budget is normally something based on experience, and hopefully we have a construction contractor in place who has already his own installation rates. So the construction contractor knows that if I have a certain pipe spool, a carbon steel pipe spool with a certain diameter, per meter length it takes me 8 hours, like in my example here. So if the length is 12 meters, the whole thing takes me 96 hours to install. The beauty here is that when we map the items from the 3D model to our work package, we have a visual representation of what we need to do, and we can automatically compute that this piece of work now takes 96 hours. The interesting thing for all the participants in this game, and there are many, is that this is something you know in advance. So when you put the whole picture together, you know it takes me so and so much hours. So if the construction contractor in the end is reporting 100% progress, he gets this volume credited. There's no debate. And of course, a EPC won't accept from a construction contractor now an invoice over 220 hours or something like that, because he has said beforehand how much it will take him. Another aspect is, of course, that with my small example of the pipe spool is running through certain stages. It's going through stages of construction. So normally it gets just fitted, it gets probably welded, it needs to be tested, then it gets painted, then it gets insulated. So this is also something we put into something we call a pattern of stages of construction an individual object is running through. So we can later on then use that as a guideline for setting up detailed work steps, because the individual pieces are done by different crews and different trades. And this can all be automated. Another aspect is material availability. My pipe spool under the snow, you know. Here we see, this is a list of work packages, and there is a red bubble, a red indicator. And when we drill down into the details, we see here that we have a couple of material items assigned to our work package, and some of them are missing or won't be available on time. This is a very, very important information, especially if we are looking into the future. So I have created a work package. I want to execute that at a certain day, but this screen here tells me it won't work because the material is missing. So I can reschedule my work package, or most likely I grab the phone and call the procurement guy and ask him what's going wrong and please do something, because of course I don't want to change my schedule. So this is all going into this early warning mechanism. Another aspect is documents. So we have, of course, a mechanism in the system to manage documents, to pull documents out of document management systems with predefined integration gateways. But one important feature is also to make life of the people easier. There is a mechanism built in that can link objects to parts, documents to parts. So, for instance, if you have to install a pump and the vendor of the pump is providing an installation manual, he sends a PDF document. What we can do then is we can link in the background automatically this PDF document to the pump. So if you do your scoping, you assign the pump to the work package, the document in the background is automatically following. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to do multiple assignments. You just assign the real world object practically, and everything that is attached to it, it's following automatically in the background. Another aspect is rather simple. Of course, we can, when we do the scoping, we can dive into the 3D model, turn it around, zoom, select certain items, and make a snapshot. Put annotations on the snapshot, and little clouds and everything, and text, please pay attention here and there. And then we attach that also to the work package documentation. The advantage here is that when you look at this picture, there are not too many people anymore who can read an isometric drawing. So if you try to find a pipe on the field and you give somebody this, it's difficult for him to identify the pipe. If you give him that, it's way easier. And basically this is the same. Okay, so this is a classical isometric drawing, and this is the 3D model screenshot, which is showing the same pipe. What I've come across recently was a development from a university in the US. They tried to solve this identification problem with a 3D printer. So they tried to provide 3D printouts of a pipe spool and give it to somebody and say, this is what you need to find me now in the laydown yard. So no pictures anymore, but you have really a little bag with plastic pipes in it. Then we come to the scheduling aspect. So of course we can do scheduling. The system is equipped with everything you need. And not only that, we have built-in earned value management systems and so on and so on, but we recognize that basically in this type of industry, in construction, Primavera P6 is the de facto industry standard. So we have integrated everything closely with P6. What we can do is we can import a work breakdown structure. We can get our construction work packages from Primavera. We take them over into our environment. We do all the detailed work below, and then we feed the progress, status, actual dates, everything you need. We feed that back to Primavera to keep it alive. But when we have done this, so we have done the scoping, we have attached our 3D model items to a work package. We have scheduled the work package. This actually is the starting point now for something what we call a timeline simulation. Because now we actually know when we have to install which piece of the model or actually of the plant. So we can run through the time and simulate that. The purpose of that is rather straightforward. We want to avoid this. Okay, so we want to have the a facility to make sure that we do things in the right sequence. And this is a screenshot of the application. So what we are doing here, we run through the time. This is our schedule. This is the red timeline. And we run here from the left to the right, and we pop up the model step by step, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger with all kinds of status information. We color code the model by status, and that can be used then to verify that we are working on the right sequence. So in this example here, it's of course very, very big objects. This is not necessary the case, because we are also talking about, let's say, detailed planning. We are talking about installation work packages, and then we definitely not put together an entire plant, but within a couple of installation work packages, we are installing a couple of pipes. And then it really makes sense, because then you can really see on the detailed level whether you are on the right track or not. So sometimes you see things in the 3D model, in this simulation, you see them floating in thin air because somebody wants to install something and there is no foundation yet. So, and then you see, my schedule is wrong, I have to go back, reschedule all my activities, and then verify if the sequence is correct now. So that saves a lot of headache in reality later. So, and within this planning environment, we have created over the years a concept we call vertical planning. And the vertical planning actually consists of mainly three parts. This is the project planning on the top. Then the work phase planning, or the detailed planning as we called it in the past, below that. And on the bottom, yeah, somebody has to do the work, right? I mean, this is all, yeah, to be fair, this is aspiration, okay? This is utopia. This is reality, and these are the poor guys at the end of the food chain who have to live with that now and have to do the execution. And our idea is always to say, we do the rough cut planning, so the high level stuff here on the top in the project planning area. Then we go down and do the detailed planning next. Then we release. That means that we want to make sure that these guys here are preparing the work for those who have to execute the actual work. And only when that is doable, so we have checked the feasibility, we have checked, do we have all the documents, do we have all our drawings, is all the materials available, do we have the right manpower at place? And only then we say, okay, now we release that. And now we print a document out and say, now you can do it. Okay, so it's doable. We have prepared that. And we are not leaving this to the guys who have to execute, because this is common practice. Just write something together, define a scope, throw it over the fence and say, here guys, there you go, and if you find the time, make it. Okay, and then there's no surprise that things are sometimes not working as expected. So finally, when we do the execution, we are gathering actual data. So we collect the feedback data, actual start, actual finish, progress, status, eventually actual hours. Not necessarily if we are running here a project in a distributed environment, because probably the construction contractor is not really keen on telling anybody how much he actually took for doing the work. So because that's sometimes not that nice. But there's a facility to do that. Then we roll it up, especially progress status, and then hopefully somebody is reconciling the plan, because, as I said, this is a little bit utopia, right? So that was all made under certain assumptions. Maybe that went all wrong, so we have to rethink our plan and we have to adjust. And hopefully somebody is actually doing that. So I talked about visualization and I talked about early warning. So this early warning, and I have heard that phrase previously, is quite an important aspect. So what we want to do is to pull all information together and visualize everything we have to avoid big disasters. And so in other terms, it's way easier and way more comfortable, although it sounds crazy, to bang your head against that sign and not to hit the bridge. Okay. So again, one of the visualization aspects is our material status. So we try to tell those guys who have to execute the work or to plan the execution whether everything is available or not. The story is, of course, way, way bigger in the background. So we have an entire materials management system. We can do everything from procurement to expediting to warehousing and so on and so on. But sometimes we are facing problems or projects where a customer says, oh, I have something already, or I have a self-made system, so please integrate. And then, of course, we are ready to do that. Project status, I mentioned that. So what we are doing in visualizing the status of the project, classically you do that something with earned value management data. You see SPI, CPI figures, all kinds of performance indicators, but it's also quite interesting to directly look at the 3D model and get the items color coded by status. So this one here, the red one, says, for instance, that's all late in progress. Okay, so we gather all this actual data, we put it into a sausage machine, we are rolling it up into the plan, and then we visualize it finally in the 3D model. So, lessons learned. I have to say that owner-operators of plant, they like this very much. You know, this is exactly what they were looking for. This is transparency. So when you have solution like this one in place, it will give you everything you need. And mainly what they are asking for is actually getting an impression. Where are we? Where are the problems? Are we on time? Are we late? The reason for this, why they are so keen on that, is rather obvious. We are talking to companies who are about to invest into a project $3 billion US, and they expect a return on investment already after 3 years. So this is, for me, this is a license to print money. And every day you are losing, or every week or every month, it's extremely expensive. So getting a better feeling about what's going on, this is of course priceless. The flip side of that one is now that the EPC who is actually doing that project is sometimes forced to take up a solution like this because the owner desperately wants to have it. So our suggestion is to all EPCs, do that before you get forced. So implement that as early as possible. You have to do it anyhow. One day you will face a project where the owner says, what is your solution for construction management? What can you tell me? How do you tell me where you are, what the problems are, how do you deal with that, and so on and so on. And this will come, definitely. And on top of that, implementing a solution like this gives EPCs really a strategic advantage over their competitors. And we have cases where EPCs are saying, we want to have this to basically have a better position when we are bidding for the next project. And apparently that works quite well. Finally, the construction contractors, who are obviously also on the pictures, they also very quickly see the benefit. But normally, you know, they are doing work like this, but not in the integrated environment, and we are providing this environment. So finally, to give you an impression, there was a project recently finished. This was scheduled for delivering the first oil in 2008. And the planned cost was $9 billion US. Actually, the first oil was delivered in December 2013. And the actual cost was $127 billion US. So this is an epic fail. And I'm not 100% sure whether our solution would have rescued that. Probably not. But maybe a little bit. I'm quite confident that we can provide at least a little help to that one. Okay, so finally, what I would like to explain a little bit more is about AVEVA's solution portfolio. So we are talking about integrated project execution, and that has, in our understanding, 4 major elements. And this is the engineering and design. And I guess when you hear AVEVA, what many of you have heard about is PDMS or E3D, the latest 3D modeling version. This is what AVEVA basically stands for, what it made famous. But there is some other stuff. So we are also talking about materials management. We have solutions for that one, mainly for catalog and specification management. And as I said, for, let's say, all the rest, which is, of course, huge. There are many functions in it, from procurement to expediting, warehousing, material requisition, and so on and so on. We have our construction management solution as part of that. And underlying, we have these, what we call digital information hubs. Because the goal is that during a project execution, we want to gather all the data we can find, all the documents, all the drawings, of course the 3D model, to finally have what we call a digital asset. Because our mantra is, for every physical asset, you should have a digital asset. And this is what we call here operational readiness, progressive handover. So at the end of the project, we want to give the owner a digital asset with all the information he needs to run the plant. Because one day he runs into trouble, definitely, and the EPC, he is long time gone and you don't even get him on the phone anymore. So that's why, as an owner, you need all this data at hand, and we provide that. That was it from my side. Thank you very much for listening.